Have pride where you live. That's why it's great to explore and see the world, because I want my children to do that. I think that's important. I got instilled in that at a young age. You got to travel. Culture things that we have to put in for from an educational standpoint, from a public safety standpoint. A lot of the crimes that we see committed, that you and I see on the news, that touches your heart and everything else, and which is unfortunate.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of the Life Lessons and Legacy Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Cedric D. Nelson, and today I'm honored to have the guest, Commissioner and future Mayor, Mickell Lowery.
From your mouth to God's ears, man. How you doing?
Fine, how you doing?
Man, I feel like there's a little bit of, I'm trying to watch you between the chords and everything else, man. So I'm at to peek over here once in a while to see you, but man, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you again as well. All right. So just want to ask you a couple of questions, get the listeners to know you and the voters to know you a little bit better.
No doubt.
So we'll start with some warm-up questions.
All right, good. It's always good to warm up.
First one, what does 901 or being from the 901 mean to you?
Man, what does being from 901 mean to me? It means that you're already born with a sense of culture, right? You got to, when you're born in the 901, you're already born with some culture. You're already born with some grit. It's already born with some grind, quite frankly, because it's from where we're from. It's our area, it's our culture. It's where we're located, right? It's the roots of the Mississippi. It's the roots commerce that has flowed through here and what's built this city. It's the roots of civil rights, and it's the roots of just being an emerging city in the South. So you were already born with all that before you even know it. And then depending on where you're born, you're already born. Hopefully you can check a little bit, right? Because if you can't, learn to take it.
It's going to be rough.
No, but that is. It's one of those things. It's kind of like, you're born with that sense of, I could talk about my fellow 901 person, but you better not.
Exactly.
Right. You get that sense of community, a sense of pride when it comes from being from the 901.
Yeah, it's like I almost have a sibling. I can mess with my
That's
sibling.
right. Yeah, but you can't. That's right. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah. Even with the checking thing coming from Mississippi, when I first came, I was like, I don't even know this. Just said good morning.
And what you don't know is that's coming out of love, man.
Exactly.
It's coming out of love.
Because I like you, man. I'm like, I want to fight you.
That's right.
So, all right, my next question. So, could you describe Memphis in 3 words?
Wow, 3 words. That's it, huh? So Memphis in 3 words. Culture. Gosh, just 3. So I feel like I said those 3 words in my open, and we talked about that, and I don't want to just stick. I want to other than grit and grind, because that does make up who we are. And it fits so well. I'll just say culturally rich, right? Yes. Historically relevant. I think that's 4, but those are the first things that come to my mind, because that's who we are as a community. And sometimes we don't even know it. We don't even recognize it. The world recognizes it, right? I always talk about the music. I always say about how Memphis music influences the world, and it has, and our culture and what we've done from a civil rights standpoint. And again, not only the positive, but the stains that we can still carry to this day from 1968, which is very painful, but very relevant of where we are as a community. And we're still feeling some of those things even today in 2025. Wow. So historically relevance, it definitely comes to mind there.
Okay. And I guess my next question would be, the children are our future. I was heard that since I was a child.
Did you hear that? Then somebody make them another song.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Stuck in my head.
Yeah.
Almost like a jingle at this point.
Yeah.
So what would your message be to the young people growing up in 901 now?
Yeah, have pride where you live, and that's why it's great to explore and see the world, because I want my children to do that. I think that's important. I got instilled in that at this young age. You got to travel, but know that you live in a community that is a great community that's right with additional potential that just needs your involvement. Right. So you can go someplace else that's ready made, and that's good. But if you want to put your stamp on some place, there's no better else to do it is where home is. So go see some places, because sometimes the problem we have with our community and some folks, and again, some people, I know some people who said, I've never been Graceland, or I've never been, Nashville, I've never been out my neighborhood, or whatever it may be. So it's important to go see other places, because sometimes we formulate these opinions like the grass is greener or this city is better, wherever it may be. And you realize, well, did you go visit that, or did you something you see on TV or Instagram or something like that? Have an impact on where you live, but also go see other places, or research other places and see how they've done it and how can we do it better. Our community needs our young folks and our young people and new ideas when it comes to those things. So that's what I would tell young folks. Don't always think the grass is greener. Go check it out for yourself.
Right.
If it's greener for you, cool. Do what's best for you.
Yeah.
But sometimes you're gonna realize it's home where the heart is. Really.
May actually be turf over there.
No doubt.
So my children, and we'll move on to next. My children are both in the Navy.
Yeah.
And they talk about how they didn't realize that there were so many African-American people here in Memphis until they went into the rest of the world, and you realize, like, we really are the minority.
Right, no doubt.
You're so used to seeing so many African-Americans walking around doing well in Memphis, different aspects of life, and you go to other places, like you say, and you realize, like, I miss home.
Right. It's not all like this.
Yeah, right. It's not 901.
Yeah, you go travel to some cities and you become the norm because you'll see, obviously, we're predominantly, African American city here, and so we're very diverse when it comes to that. And then you can go to some other cities and you realize you'll look around and like, where's the diversity? And so we got to celebrate that, right? And obviously make to where we're all working in concert together when it comes to making our community the best it can be. Doesn't mean we're not going to have challenges, right? We're going to have challenges. We always will. But at the same time, we can approach them a little bit differently.
Yes, I agree. And you mentioned community, and I like that. It leads me to my next question. What role do you think the county plays in keeping the community safe?
Oh, tremendous role. Maybe not to what people think from a day-to-day, like MPD and sheriffs, because obviously, so the county is responsible for public safety throughout the county, but especially in our unincorporated areas, right? Because that's where you have the sheriff's department, the deputies actually patrolling and doing those things as well. But public safety runs the gamut. It's just not people who are arrested. It also comes from a mental health standpoint. It comes from how we're treating people when they are locked up as well. The jail is the county's responsibility. The rehabilitation aspect is important as well, because as we know, as we lock people up, they're going to get back out. So if we don't have facilities that talk about giving people a second chance, those who want them, or talk about helping them to change their lives, and we're just perpetuating the cycle. That's where the county comes to this standpoint as well. How we process people is important. How you treat people when they're incarcerated is important, because at the end of the day, it's still our responsibility.
Yes.
Right? And so if we have inhumane conditions, how do you think people are going to act once they eventually get reacclimated to society?
Right.
So all those things work in concert together, the public safety. It's not just a one shoe fits all. It's a 360 view of what we're doing, from not only keeping our streets safe, but in our courts, how we're processing, how we're housing inmates, the rehabilitation programs that we have, the workforce development programs that we hopefully can put in place for people who are reacclimated. How do we go about encouraging businesses to be felon friendly? When it comes to what incentives can we give them to do those things as well? So all of that's part of public safety. And again, just making sure there's high visibility from the sheriffs and everything else where it needs to be in those areas, and then working in concert with MPD.
I like that answer a lot. Like you say, it is that thing, like where you incarcerate someone, you have to realize that, eventually, let's say, have a life sentence. That's right. They're coming back.
Right, okay.
And if you put me out here, I don't have any education, I don't have any job skills, and then you tell me, look, you need to make $200 a week. What am I going to do?
Exactly. You're going to go back and you're going to hit the easy button. The easy button is probably going back to what you were doing before. And you're going to think about, well, I'm going to do it before. I'm just not going to get caught this time.
Exactly. I'm just smarter criminal.
Right. I'm just going to be a smarter criminal. And people come out smarter criminals. I mean, you think about it, you give people a lot of time. If I gave you and me just time and just to sit there, we're going to figure something out.
Yes.
And now is it going to be positive? Is it going to be negative? But we're going to figure something out. So, we really got to think about, okay, the people that are incarcerated now, eventually they're going to get out. Right. So what's in place for those folks? What are we trying to give? What skill sets can we build? What trades, whatever it may be, can we give those folks? And then also, too, from our businesses, I mean, we talk about a lot of incentives that we usually try to give to businesses to relocate here, wherever it may be. Well, we can give those same type of incentives to folks who want to be felon friendly, or you hire people for certain zip codes. It has to be a win-win when it comes to those things. And I'm talking about for those who want them, because you got some folks who they don't want a lifestyle change, and we're going to always have some bad actors out there. Always. It is what it is, and hopefully the sentence meets the crime for those things. But for those folks who realize that, hey, I'm glad I got the next chance, whatever that may be, and I really want to do something impactful, we got to be able to create an environment for that.
I agree. And, we just talked about education, and we talked about, job skills. So my next question would be, what role do you think education plays in preventing crime and poverty?
A tremendous role. And I pause here because the unfortunate fact about that is that that's culture change from an education standpoint. And what I mean by that is that doesn't happen overnight. We don't wave a magic wand and a month from now, I'm like, these are culture things that we have to put in forth from an educational standpoint. And we got to start as early as pre-K.
I agree.
I fought to have additional funding for pre-K in our last budget. That didn't pass. However, as I'm pursuing the next role to be county mayor, that's something I'm going to lead with in making sure that's available for our citizens. And I'm going to work with county commissioner to make that happen. But I'm going to present that in the first budget that I have presented if the people elect me to this job, because those are culture changes. Think about this. Think about if we had the right mental health resources in our schools, starting from elementary. I'm not saying we don't have some of them now, and that, you know, shout out to those folks who are doing that good work. You know, I speak from a place of personal experience there, you know, and I have a child that has a mental disability, and, you know, she's autistic, so she's going to different schools and everything. So I've seen it. So I'm not talking about stuff I don't know.
Right.
And all schools ain't created equal when it comes to that. So I don't begrudge you. And so I thank for everybody doing the hard work. What I'm talking about is how do we scale that up? Because, you know, I got the ability, my wife and I had the ability to go to different schools where may figure it out. Some people don't have that ability. They got to go wherever they're assigned and that be that. Imagine, obviously, if we had those resources from an equitable standpoint in our schools, but also that we started teaching conflict resolution skills as early as elementary, right? You talk about how it goes from a public safety standpoint. A lot of the crimes that we see committed, that you and I see on the news, that touches your heart and everything else, and which is unfortunate, but you see a lot of these people know each other. Now, I'm not saying we don't have any random act of violence.
Right.
Every society does. I'm going to tell you that it's not as prevalent as people think that it is. And I'm not talking about things as far, heck, I had my car broken in and everything else. I'm not talking about stuff like that, right? I'm not talking about crimes like that. I'm talking about when we see fatalities and things of that nature. So imagine if we made those things mandatory, even from an elementary standpoint. We'd be building better citizens.
Yes.
Doesn't make it utopia. Not going to say no one's going to commit a crime.
Right.
But we will be building better people, better young people, better citizens going forward. And unfortunately, for some of us, I mean, to have to realize that's a culture shift that we need, but we need it desperately.
We do. I agree. I think that's one of the things I realized with children. You know, I do a mentorship program, and working with those children, a lot of them just don't have anybody positive to pour into them, or to teach them, hey, you know, you can have a disagreement without it being a fist fight. Or if I can give you skills in elementary, as you said, by the time you get to middle school, you're not going out getting a handgun trying to solve your dispute with the handgun with violence. So that's my thing. I like the idea because the earlier we can get to them, the better off we're going to be.
The earlier, exactly right. And then for the folks who say, okay, well, that's all fine and good, and that's 15 years down the road. We start that to now in elementary. And so what are we doing? What can we do now? So it's both, right? We can also take how the county can play a role. And you said from education plays a role in the public safety. I like to see some of our law enforcement adopt and have academies even in our high schools.
Yes.
Because imagine this. Imagine, like I've told this story before, but I was like, hey, if you had a high school that was adopted by the medical profession, you have doctors who show up every once in a while, right? You may be creating more doctors or nurses or whatever it may be, or whatever that may be in the medical field. If you had a school that was adopted by engineers, you'd probably be developing the future next corps of engineers or whatever it may be. Same thing for law enforcement, because from the county standpoint, you can work in corrections as early as 18 years old.
Really?
You can start working at 18 years old. So imagine if we had law enforcement and that had academies in high schools. Number one, you would be building better relationships with younger people in law enforcement because they would be seeing them in a more positive light, and not when just something bad happens. That's when most people in certain communities see law enforcement when something bad happens.
Yes.
And so then everybody's on edge. I don't see you any other time but this. So you on edge and I'm on edge. You got a job to do and I'm on edge because this is the only time I see you, right? Imagine we're creating that connectivity, number one. So we're hopefully building that better relationship. Two, we could be building a pipeline for employment, because if you could work there as early as 18 years old, you could be starting a career. Now, I don't know, maybe you were, but I wasn't thinking about a career at 18 or thinking about retirement and everything else. But if we make that job a little bit more attractive for those folks who say, you know, college may not be the thing for me right now, but I can go start a career working in corrections as early as 18 years old. We make that job very attractive to where retirement looks like, hey, you've only had to be here for a certain amount of years and you got a retirement based on. Now, that may be hard to do, to get an 18-year-old to realize that's why that's important, but that used to be the benefit for a lot of government jobs.
Yes.
Wasn't necessarily the pay, right? Because it's not a business, right? Government can't say, you know what, we need a little more money over here. We're just going to raise our rates tomorrow, or like a business may do. Like Coke can say, we're going to charge another 50 cents for this, this can. That's not how it works. So it used to be more so, what are the benefits associated, right? You got really solid benefits, health care and everything else, maybe retirement at an age, because, you know, retirement for most folks is, you're talking about 60, 65, right? And that could continue to get pushed. Just work till you hate it, Well, but in government, you're like, okay, you had a decent retirement age to where you still had a lot of, hopefully, life ahead of you, to where if you want to go do another career, go do that. Now you got a pension over here and go get a pension over there. So how can we kind of create that same type of education standpoint and an interest in a job from high school standpoint to building a pipeline to employment? Because Let's be honest. There's not a lot of people beating down the walls to go be a correctional officer.
True.
Or a deputy sheriff. I mean, it's a tough job.
Yes.
It's a tough job at the end of the day. And because it's so tough, you got to have, obviously, a servant heart to do it.
Yes.
Hopefully the pay, we keep that as competitive, because that needs to be the case too. We got to be competitive at standpoint. But so therefore, we got to figure out, how do we build pipelines for employment for those jobs as well. But at the same time, what you're also doing is you're helping public safety through education, through connectivity, just from a sense of more involvement in our high schools. And hopefully, again, you're creating better citizens. Don't make it utopia.
Right.
But you're creating better citizens.
Right. And then plus I say, see it, be it. If they can see it, they know they can be it. Because I know growing up for me, I didn't have the interaction, you know. So I didn't see the doctors, lawyers, politicians, MPD or anybody.
Right.
So, but as a child seeing that, like you said, that's the thing. You get rid of that negative stigma because, okay, I see Officer Owens every day.
Right.
No, he greets me, and I don't just see him when they say I, stole some candy out of the store.
Right. Listen, look, when I go into high school, we talk about what you'll see is what you'll be, or what you'll inspire to be. When I was young in high school, I wanted to be a chiropractor. And it had nothing to do with knowing what a chiropractor did. I had a mentor. He drove a nice car. We went to basketball games together and all that kind of good stuff and everything else. And nice. I said, you know what? I'm gonna do what you do. Whatever. You seem to have it all right, figured it out. I'm just gonna do what you do. Then I realized how much science was involved and everything else. And what attracted me, I realized it was the business aspect of it. He was a small business owner. I've always had that entrepreneurial spirit as well. So that's what really I realized, okay, there's my interest.
Right.
But to your point, when you're younger, once you see it, get around some things, you're like, that sparks my interest.
Yes.
And so, we can do the same thing in our high schools.
I agree. Great point. So, and my next question is, when you're elected county mayor,
all right,
what is the one thing you would like to accomplish in your first year?
Oh, first year. So again, I tell you, my first budget will include additional resources for pre-K.
Okay.
I want to start there as well. Also, my first year, I'm going to go back to the mental health resources that are in our schools.
Okay.
I want to see that expanded. So that's one of the first couple things I want to do when it comes to that. I just think it's so important that we get a tackle and handle on our youth when it comes to those things. I want to see our internship program expanded for our young people, ages 16 to almost 24. People need to see opportunities and figure out employment opportunities as well. So those are things for me that I call that low-hanging fruit.
Yes.
That we can figure out. We got a lot of complex things we got to tackle from a county standpoint. For those things I see immediately, and I think you see immediate change and results from those things as well. There's so many things that the county's going to be responsible for, but I'm telling you, those things for me, I'm going to be leaning in there too. And that's going to be working with the superintendent and the county commission, the school board, and everyone else to help us get us on the same page. Okay.
I like that. I like it a lot.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I think we gotta, again, in this job, and as I think about the job I want, there are two aspects of it for me. It's what are we doing long term, right? Because I think sometimes our leaders can be short-sighted of what you think you can accomplish year one instead of thinking about what it looks like to have a long-term vision for the county. But also, too, I understand there are people out there hurt, and one of the things, well, what are we doing tomorrow?
Right.
And again, it ain't a magic wand to this stuff. We didn't get here overnight. We're not going to change it overnight. But we can put the things in place that will obviously begin to change the mindset and hopefully the culture of our community who comes to those things. And hopefully they see those things working from a leadership standpoint, then that all things will hopefully resonate throughout the entire county. But also, too, I want us to make sure that we're competing regionally as a county, man. It's hard for you to ask me one thing because I've got, right? So now I'm on the next thing. You didn't ask me this, but
keep going.
Yeah. What's also extremely important is how the way we compete as a region and not being so siloed. And what I mean by that is we got to celebrate and compete as a county. That means all 7 municipalities working together when it comes to those things, because what's happening is that, the state of Arkansas is walking down their state income tax. They're also doing things creatively to raise tax revenue. They have gaming. They got medicinal, right? Marijuana. Like it or dislike it, they're doing it. It seems like everyone's doing that around Tennessee, but Tennessee. Mississippi has got rid of their state income tax. They're also going to be doing some creative things from a tax revenue standpoint. Well, why does that matter to us? Is that, we all got friends and good folks that we love, but they live in South Haven, Olive Branch, and wherever it may be, right? Or West Memphis, which is all good. But the problem with that is that it erodes our tax base. Because you can live outside the state. The only way we get revenue is from property taxes, because we don't have a state income tax. So you could live outside, pay property taxes over Mississippi and Arkansas. What happens for you and I and everyone else, we put some more of a burden on our tax base. And it's like erosion. You don't see it at first. You don't realize it. It's like, I don't care if you talk about geology or anything else. You keep throwing water up against a stone. And I don't care how rapid or how slow. It's the consistency. I could have a drip on a stone. Eventually that water is going to break through. That's what's happening from our population decline. You may not notice it right now. You hear it and you talk about it, but over time, it will have a circle around Shelby County and it will continue to erode because you can live all outside of the Shelby County, but you're still going to the FedEx Forum for Grizzlies game. If you live in Olive Branch in Olive Branch, South Haven, shout out to my Olive Branch, South Haven, West Memphis folks, Hernando, shout out to all you all. But if you live there, you're flying out of Memphis International Airport.
Yes, you are.
You're going to the FedEx Forum to go to Grizzlies games. You're driving over to the Orpheum to go to wherever it may be, see shows. You're coming over to Convention Center, which is all great. You're going to the National Civil Rights Museum. You're coming to Beale Street. I can go on and on and on. All those things are in Shelby County that obviously costs, take resources and everything else. That's what you and I, people who live here, pay for from a property tax standpoint to a certain extent. So even those communities need Shelby County to thrive because the only reason why those communities exist, shout out to y'all, but it's still suburban areas of Memphis and Shelby County at the end of the day because you have access to infrastructure for airports and transportation and entertainment and everything else. If those things didn't exist, then we wouldn't have those outskirts of those communities that exist as well. So we got to help everyone to realize that and why it's important that we continue to compete and invest in Shelby County.
I like that. And it's true. And again, most outsiders don't think that way. They just say, I'm going to move to Olive Branch and I'll go use Memphis for all the resources they have.
And that's cool. You know what? If Olive Branch or South Haven, if that's like, you know what? Look, I got good friends who live over there, right? And some of them, they go over there because the law's a little bit different over here. And, the sheriff not playing over here, whatever they may say, right? And I get that. I don't begrudge anybody from doing it. I think most people who, they don't think about, I don't care about what happens over here. Just I gotta do what's best for my family.
Yes.
So I get that, but there's some things creatively that we can do and say, okay, if you're gonna do that, cool, but we're gonna need your help over here.
Right.
I don't want to make nobody too scared about taxes or whatever it may be. But if you're gonna do that, we're gonna need your help in some other aspects over here.
Yes. Because they want the benefit.
Right. You're getting them.
Yeah.
You're getting them. You're getting them. Again, if you live over there, you're flying out of Memphis International. Quite frankly, that's a regional airport for some. Right. I don't care. You live in Holly Springs and everywhere else. If you're an hour radius flying out of Memphis International, and we appreciate that. We need that. You're coming over to the FedEx Forum to go to concerts, which we need. We're a regional place entertainment venue that we need the support from Mississippi, Arkansas, wherever it may be, even Missouri from a certain extent to come over. But we're also providing a benefit too. The reason why the hospital is called Regional 1.
Exactly.
It ain't Shelby County 1, even though Shelby County owns it, right?
Right.
It ain't Shelby County 1, it's Regional 1 because it's the only hospital in its region, Mississippi, Arkansas, South Haven, Olive Branch, Hernando, wherever you may be. That's the center that if something happened, that's where you would probably have to end up. Hopefully it doesn't, but that's what they're designed to do to make sure you can move on to where you need to be. So that also offers a regional benefit as well.
That's very true. And like I said, it's one of the best hospitals around. Everyone goes to Regional 1.
Yeah. I mean, again, shout out to all the folks at Regional 1. Some people may say, wow, best hospital. Listen, Regional 1 not probably designed for you to stay there long term.
Exactly.
But they're going to get you right if they can. So shout out to a lot of the hardworking folks over there as well, because what we hear about Regional 1 is when it comes to trauma, and their job is to get there and obviously get you stabilized and hopefully to where the next step may be. There have been a lot of lives saved over there at Regional 1, and that's why we have to have the investment there because, quite frankly, the building's old and everything else associated is old. And what we don't talk about a lot from a healthcare standpoint or environmental standpoint, because it's kind of like out of sight, out of mind. You and I know a lot of folks that we sit on a magic fault line, hopefully not, but we got to be prepared if those things happen.
Yes.
And the infrastructure our hospital sits on are important. And again, obviously, it's whatever's in God's will is God's will to come to those things. But just like if you're in a region that's could be susceptible to tornadoes, you got to be prepared for that.
Yes.
If you're in a region in California that's susceptible to fire, then how do you prepare for that? Hopefully, if whatever that may be, whatever you may sit in the world or in the United States that your region may be susceptible to weather inclements, things of that nature, I prepare for that. Well, that's the same thing that we need to be thinking about when it comes to our infrastructure, considering where we are based, and hopefully it never happens.
Correct.
But when it does, if we're not prepared, even some sense of fashion, then that's where you can point to your leaders and say, why weren't we?
I agree. More lighthearted.
Okay, cool.
But
My bad, man. I'm going to be talking about earthquakes and all.
You're good.
All right.
But the more lighthearted
right.
session of the podcast is going to be what we call rapid fire questions.
All right.
Short questions. You can give me 1 or 2 sentences for whatever you think.
Okay.
Just getting the listeners and voters to know you.
All right, cool.
All right. First one. Someone's coming from out of town. You want to impress them? What restaurant or food are you going to?
Man, go ahead. You know you can't tell me just one place to take folks when it comes to this, man. Again, someone's coming from out of town. The first thing they're going to ask about is, where's the barbecue? Where should I go? Mm-hmm. And if you talk to 5 Memphians or Shelby County folks, whatever it may be, you're going to get 5 different answers. So that's a part of preference. But you know what? It's me. I'm taking them to Cozy Corner. All right. We're going to start off there first from that standpoint. And this is a little shameless, but I'm taking my folks to Johnny Mays now.
Okay.
Johnny Mays just opened on Macklemore. Right out here in the heart of Soulsville. And, you know, just because of the great story behind Johnny Mays, you know, my good friend Derek Craig, we started talking about like what could we do differently in this area, in this neighborhood, and we started these conversations like 2017, 2018, and we saw some abandoned buildings and they just had applied to the blight and just eyesores in the area. You know, fast forward, you know, we have a restaurant now in the area that's named after his mom, who was a Marine and worked at Postal. So, you know, it's a soul food restaurant, but it's also basically, I shouldn't say soul food, it's got soul. Because, you know, there's breakfast and everything else, which there's not places you can have breakfast that are open in this area so as well. So just because of the story associated with it, and the people need to see Soulsville, which is right across the street from Stax Museum, I'm taking them to Johnny Mays to go eat, to experience that as well. And you really get brought into the culture. And then, man, you're making it hard for me talking about restaurants, man, because I got my favorites. I got so many of them. I'm going to stop there. We're going to bring them to Johnny Mays and we're going to go to Cozy Corner, go to Johnny Mays. At least from food standpoint. That's what you asked me, right?
Yes.
Food? Okay, all right. Yes, make sure. All right.
So my next question was, I think you already answered though. It was like, what's your favorite barbecue spot?
See, that's terrible to say too, because
I just said top 5.
Yeah, give me a top 5. No, we got great Cozy Corner. I shouldn't be even naming names, right? Obviously, barbecue shop and everything else, man. You got, even, you know, shout out even Neely's, you know, Interstate. I mean, you're talking about a staple that's been there forever. And then obviously too, the historical even sense of rendezvous, right? I mean, you know, even historical value, how long that's been there. You know, they got employees that have been there, you know, 30 years, man. Wow. No, man. But I got to go with the one I told you I'd send first. But they all good. It's all good. But did you just read? They said that we were voted like the wing capital.
I know, isn't that crazy? I'm like, wings.
We don't even talk about wings like that.
Yeah.
Not saying we don't have good wings, but we don't talk about wings like that.
That's not what we think about.
That's not what we think about. So we may have to embrace that may be the next one. We have to talk about the wings next.
Yeah. What's your favorite wings spot? Yeah. Next question, because we're here in Memphis.
All right.
Got to pick one. Tigers or Grizzlies?
Man, no, you don't. Both. They're both so important to our community, especially when they're winning.
Oh, man.
Now, when they win is different type, right? When the Tigers are winning, you feel it because every game matters, right? It's collegiate. It's only 30-something games throughout the year. And then so when the Tigers are winning and, you know, getting number 1 seeds or whatever it may be, I'm talking about everybody's going to feel that.
Yes.
We take a little bit of some of the Grizzlies winning for granted.
We do.
Because it's the NBA seems 80-something games in a year. One day you're in 3rd place, next day you're in 4th place. Yeah. So unfortunately, we take a look because, you know, the Grizzlies have been a very good team for a long time.
They have.
And I'm talking about even when we were winning, even before our grit and grind eras and all that kind of good stuff, we were winning 50 games a year or close to 60. I mean, you remember we went to the Western Conference Finals?
Yes.
I mean, we were a game away from being in the NBA Finals. And I think we had the whole NBA sweating like, oh my gosh, Memphis is going to Memphis, you know? But I'm telling you, the electricity that our community gets, and I wish we could bottle it because we wish we won't have that all the time. We shouldn't take sports to do it, but it does. It does. And we haven't had a title over at either one of those teams yet. So I can't, man, both Tigers, both Grizzlies, we got to have both of them be successful, want both to be successful. I mean, because it does so much. We're a basketball town, and we got good programs going on with both, and we got an opportunity to win with both those organizations. No, man, you just can't pick just one, man. Yeah. I got on my Tigers and Grizzlies blue. There you go.
All right, next question. So what motivates you to work in public service?
Man, it's the impact that you can have on people and communities. That's the rewarding aspect of it. You want to see our communities thrive. You want to see our people have the opportunity to be better, do better, have access to resources. And that's what inspires me to do it. You need people to do it. These jobs that we're in, and especially when you talk about mayors, they're an executive job. There's a $1.6 billion budget. There are thousands of employees. It's an executive role. It's an everyday hands-on role when it comes to that. And it's not about having someone in that job that just has a passion or say the right thing on TV or whatever it may be. There's execution that comes to getting these things done. There's execution when it comes to legislation. There's execution in government. And we've seen the cities that have done well, and even ours, and even our past, I always think that the people who were in these roles were in that role for that period of time. It's time for someone else. The next person should go elevate the role. I want to go elevate the role. I don't begrudge who's come behind me. I have nothing but respect for those folks who are elected in our executive roles because you put your family through that and you did the best job you could for Memphis and Shelby County during that time and did a lot of good during those times, right?
Yes.
Now it's time, all right, who's coming next? And so it's the impact that you can have on those communities and on those people. And we need good leaders to be able to do that. Who we hire matters. The messenger matters. Who can collectively kind of bring us together when it comes to those things. Doesn't mean that we can be adversarial all we want to, but at the same time, I'm about results.
Yes.
We can go in closed room and have it out, and hopefully we come out of that room and say, okay, where's the win-win? And I don't care if you take the credit for it or whoever takes the credit for it, as long as it's good for the overall our people at the end of the day, what's important. So that's what motivates me. It motivates me is the impact. I measure my level of success. I always have. Is that how can I be in a position to make other people successful? And since we're here at the Lowery Communications Center, which is on the campus of Lemoyne College, that started for me not only in college, but just through athletics. I played basketball over here, and so my position was a point guard. And so now basketball is different for those enthusiasts watching. Now it's positionless basketball back in the day. Now, but back in the day, you had a defined role, right? And my job was to put people in position to be successful.
Yes.
Right. That was the job. Is okay? All right. The point guard. The play was rarely ran for the point guards. Unless you were just no talent. There's a lot of ones more talent than I was, but it was ran for somebody else. So how do you put them in the right position to be successful? Okay. Well, where are you supposed to be so that person knows their job? And then all the time you got to know their job as well.
Yes.
No, you're supposed to be over here. No, there's cut back here, whatever it may be. And so my definition of success is how can I help someone else be successful? I do that in my current role while I'm in now and working with FedEx, and I want to be able to do the same at executive level for our county. And the good thing about that role, and unfortunately the curse about it too, is that there's always going to be work to do.
Yes.
There's never going to be a time when someone says, oh, we've done it.
Right.
There's always going to be, if you're thinking about people, there's always people you can inspire, always people you can touch, always going to be people who are not in the best position from a community standpoint. So we gotta build this county, as we go about one community at a time. Now that doesn't mean we don't do things in concert, but we gotta think about it that way.
Right.
Community standpoint, how do we help, raise the tide there?
Okay. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. And my next to last question.
Okay.
I have two left for rapid fire. Who? Because we talk about leadership, we talk about legacy.
Yeah.
Who inspired you to lead?
Who will be my parents?
Okay.
It's hard to, I'm not going to say just one of them because they both come from a different line. I think, the easy thing of people say, oh, your father, right? Because your father was in public service and your father did these things. And true. Very, very much inspired by him and the things he's done, the impact that he's had on this community. One of the longest serving African Americans in our city's history. The only person to ever serve in all three branches of our government, from African American, from a legislative standpoint, city council, from in the judicial area, from a city court clerk, and at the executive branch as well. He was interim mayor. So extremely proud of those things. My mother is always coming from a servant leadership standpoint, who really instilled the, make sure I had the right faith-based, practical things that come from those things and impact on others. Both of them in their own right have inspired me. I don't want to say to lead. It more so is what impact can you have on people? And, basically going to the golden rule, do unto others as they have them do unto you. Or now you can change it to the platinum rule, right? Do unto others as they would have them be done, right? So, I'm extremely thankful for now at this age of what both of them were able to instill in me. You don't see it when you're growing up.
You don't.
As well. And who knows if they were thinking about those things as well. It's that what type of person can you be, and what type of humility can you show? And again, if you want to be successful, you help other people be successful, and that's going to bode well for everybody at the end of the day. So that's where the inspiration comes from. And now the inspiration ties to my own family. I want my daughters to have a community that they say, this is where I want to be. Not that I don't want them to see the world.
Right.
Not that I don't want them to experience other places. But I want them to say, God, this is why some people have the perception of, man, I want to be in Houston or Atlanta or DC, all great cities. Don't get me wrong, all great cities. And I'm leaving off a few. But I want that same resonance to be about Shelby County and Memphis. And that goes for all our municipalities as well, right? We don't talk about, list them in name, the 7 municipalities we have, but we have some of the fastest growing municipalities in Shelby County as well. And that's good for population growth. So, but again, those all exist because of what we do in the inner city and what we do from a broader standpoint as well. So we got to think about where people want to live, and I want my daughters to be like, Shelby County, regardless wherever it is in Shelby County, is where I want to be able to grow my family, grow my career, because I know I can have an impact, or because I know that there are resources and jobs and employers that are forward thinking that are going to have an impact on our community for years to come.
That's something about the 901. You want them to always love the 901.
No doubt.
All right, so my last question. I'm going to let you go.
All right, cool.
I know you're a busy man. Do you have any upcoming events or anything that you would like to plug or talk about, or for a chance for listeners to meet you and get to know you a little better?
Yeah. We got an upcoming event on August the 28th, where it's kind of a meet and greet as well, coming up as well. So I don't know if we can flash some information on that. We can do that maybe, hopefully. Okay, cool. So that's coming up. And then I'd like to point people to our website too, which is, LoweryFor901.com.
Okay.
We have our schedule there as well. So we're doing a lot of those. We're doing a lot of town hall events. Tap into our calendar, right? Okay. I could run those things down for you month by month, but man, if you tap into our calendar, you can see and get on our mailing list. We'd love to, see at some of these events and show you, what our campaign's about, and hopefully to earn folks' votes.
Okay. Sounds great. Well, thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Life, Lessons, and Legacy. I hope you found our discussion thought-provoking and inspiring. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave a review. Your feedback helps us to improve and reach more listeners like you. Remember, life is a journey of growth and discovery. In every experience, both the highs and the lows, contributes to the legacy we leave behind. So embrace each moment, cherish the lessons, and live with purpose. Until next time, I'm Cedric D. Nelson. You can find more resources, including my book, Life, Lessons, and Legacy: How to Take Life's Lessons and Shape Your Legacy. Available for purchase on my website at www.lifelessonsandlegacy.com. Also available on Amazon.com. On my website, you'll also discover information about my life coaching services and speaking engagements designed to help you unlock your full potential and live a life full of purpose. Until next time, take care, and I'll see you soon.